get to the portion. Let's get to learning.
We might come there in person, Rabbi, so
What?
we might try to, if we come in person, we won't be that late.
Late. It's the Chinese. They are affecting the Jew Chinese. Whatever. I don't know. Whatever. All about this very strong bandwidth there. All about the Yetzer Hara who's trying to stop these.
The Jews, right?
Trying to stop
Eliminate our communication.
Okay, good morning, everybody. A fascinating Parsha this week, I must say. Every Parsha is fascinating, but this week is fascinating. Chaya Sara, the life of Sara. Beautiful Parsha. Mother says, Yafa Sichasun Shalaves. How beautiful is the story of the patriarchs, the stories of the Torah, and even the laws. The Torah gives off so much space, so much word, so much time to these stories, because these stories have within it some beautiful, beautiful teachings, beautiful things to learn from. Oh, we are today brought to the end of the life of Sarah. In this week's Parsha, we have the first beautiful shidduch brought together. Whole beautiful story of the bringing together of Isaac and Rebecca. So we are brought together today in this week's Parsha with the beautiful story of Sarah and the beautiful shidduch, the beautiful marriage of Rebecca and Isaac. The marriage of a 37 or 40-year-old to a 3-year-old, Kenai Hara. What a beautiful marriage, these two beautiful people. They have a book of names. Shalom, make up stories. We can't make up stories. These are the stories of the Torah. Well, a 3-year-old then was more mature than a 3-year-old today. Okay, I didn't say this just to make action over here. So, beautiful stories of the Torah, really, really beautiful stories. Let's just put the, oh, there's a page difference?
No age difference.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna, that's not part of the class. So we have in text, and what does this put the stage together, the foundation of this whole beautiful story. And text number 1a, we have Vayomer Avram alav Avdei, and Abraham said to his servant, the elder of his house, who ruled over his possessions, please place your hand under my thigh. Promise me by God of the heavens and the God of the earth that you will not take a wife for my son and the daughters of Canaan, amongst who I live. I want my child, my son, to marry one of the daughters of this neighborhood. I want you to travel to my land, my birthplace. I want you to take for my son a daughter from one of my family. I want you to go back to home. I want you to go back home. I want you to go back to where I came from. Aram Narayim, I don't know what that is, Iraq, Syria, I'm not sure exactly which area that is exactly. I think it's Iraq area. And I want you to go there. I want you to go to my family. I want you to find somebody who's part of my family. And he goes on this journey. Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, goes on this journey. And it says in text 1b, it's 17-day journey. They were living in Hebron. At that time, Abraham was in Hebron. And from Hebron, not by plane, not by helicopter, but by camel and feet, it takes 17 days. Where Abraham lived in Haran, where Rebecca lived. From Hebron to Haran, we know exactly. I don't know exactly where today is. I think it's someplace in Iraq, but it's in Haran. It takes 17 days. Yet the servant arrived in 3 hours. The Medrash says Eliezer came there in 3 hours. It took him from there to there in 3 hours. And that what's called in the Torah, we read in the Rashi, Kvitz Haderech, that's a shortening of the land. God makes Kvitz Haderech. He brings about, we find it later by Yaakov Avinu. We find it many times in the Talmud when sages took a journey. We know stories about Shem Tov. His journeys were very quick. He had a what's called Kvitz Haderech. He had a very short journey. Don't try it at home. Try it. He had a very short journey and a very fast way. It says when God took the Jews out of Egypt, he wanted to bring them in 3 days into the land of Israel. He shortened their journey. Ultimately, it took them 40 years, not because of God's wishes, but because of the sin. But there's a way to shorten a journey. Only God can do that. And it took him 3 hours to get there. Today I departed, and that's why he says to them, today I departed, today I arrived. Eliezer says to Rivka's family, today I departed, today I arrived, left in the morning, came in the afternoon, and which shows the wishes of God to bring about this union, this Mazel Tov. And then it took the way back also, it took 1 day. It took less than a day. What? And Yitzchak go himself, because Yitzchak was not allowed to leave Israel. Maybe could leave Israel, I don't know, but Yitzchak was not allowed to leave Israel. Abraham was an old man; he was over 140 years old. So what? Of course, okay, but it's a separate issue. Abraham never left. Isaac never left Israel. So we know Abraham left Israel. Jacob left Israel. Isaac never left Israel in his whole journeys of life, even when there was a hunger, as the Torah will tell you, there was a hunger in Israel. When there was a hunger in Israel, Abraham left Israel. When there was a hunger in Israel, when there was a famine in Israel in the time of Isaac, he was not allowed to leave Israel. He never left Israel. Isaac never left. This thing. Let's continue. Let's focus. Okay? You know what we always teach, divine providence. Eliezer saw divine providence. Divine providence. He saw how God's hand was in the story from the beginning until the end. Right? And the Torah says it explicitly, right? The Torah says it explicitly. And he says, that's a story in text number 1c, right? He said, God, the God of my master Abraham, please cause this to happen, right? He came to the water. Behold, I stand at the water fountain, and the daughters of the people of the city are coming out to draw water. And I will ask the maiden whom I say, lower your pitcher, and I will drink. And she will say, drink, and I will have the waters of the camel. And she was the one who provided servant Isaac, and I know that it's performed kindness and mercy. It's interesting. It's interesting, all the, what do you want to call it, the ideas of who to choose. So Abraham says, I want you to go to my family, right? I want you to go to my family. I want you find a daughter from my family. He says, he puts in this whole thing about kindness. He decides kindness, right? And ultimately, he sees she's a kind girl. And then he asks, where do you come from? And she says, I'm the daughter of Besuel, the daughter of Nachar. Right away, everything works out, right? He doesn't have to go to 5 shadchanim and meet 50 guys or girls to find it. This was a very quick shidduch, right? Halavai, everybody would have such a shidduch process, right? He goes there, he's looking for the family, really. He says, okay, I'll throw something else in there. I'll see who is kind. Because in the family, you can find the one who's kind, the one who's not kind. I'll find the kind one. Boom, riff is happening. He gets to a place he's supposed to travel 70 days. He gets in 3 hours. He comes to the edge of the water. She walks out. Everything, Ashgacha Prat, is like you go on a date and it happens in one shot. Unbelievable. What a story. What divine providence. I bless every shidduch in the world should happen the way Isaac and Rebecca came about, this shidduch came about. Unbelievable. They didn't have to go on a date. Eliezer went on a date for them. This is they even saved from going on a date. It was all Chaya from heaven. This is from heaven. They didn't have to work hard. This was a shidduch from heaven. Every shidduch's from heaven, but this was something that God extraordinary, right? That's why it says in Pirkei de Rebbe Lezer, in the Medrash, says everything ever seen by God. A daughter of princes who had not gone out to draw water in the past, suddenly she decides to go. She's 3 years old. Again, I'm not going to get stuck in the 3-year-old business. She's 3 years old, and she suddenly goes out to draw water. What is she doing? She's only 3. What she's drawing water? Why she suddenly go out? He comes there in 3 hours. She suddenly goes out. As to who the man was, he was a perfect stranger, yet she consented. That's everything's happening, right? He comes there. She says, "Wow, you have a house. Come." She says, I'm traveling across the world to go marry this guy. This is a crazy story. That's it. Why? Because this was intended for him, yet from her mother's womb. This is Bashet. This is we see how every shidduch is Bashet. But this happens extremely beautifully. This is totally a beautiful story. You read the Torah, he actually says this to Rivka's family. He says, "This is unbelievable. Hashem Yatsa Adava." This story couldn't been. You couldn't make up this story. Couldn't make up the story. This is a story, made for Hollywood. This is a story of stories, and therefore we need to go back. You can't say, even they say, well, let's wait a year. Let's not rush this. They can't do this. You can't. When you have such a story, then it shows you it's a godly event and needs to be done ASAP. So text number 1e, at midday, the servant along with Rebecca and her nursemaid Devorah depart. Right? Guess what? He arrives 3 hours later. He's back in Hebron. He's back at home. He's back at home. It took him 3 hours to get there. It takes him 3 hours to get. He's back in 3 hours in something that takes 70 days. And guess what happens? That's where we come to this part of the story. And as he comes, Yitzhak is out, suddenly decides to go out for a walk. He decides to go, right. This is today's reading in the Chitas, that Yitzhak goes out, and guess what? It's love at first sight, right? Now we come to the ending of the story, right? The ending of the story, Baruch Hashem. Yitzhak sees Rivka, Rivka sees Rivka, they decide to get married. Self-understood. And the Torah says as follows. This is what the Sikha goes on, okay? This is really this story. Genesis 24:67. And Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother. And he took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her, and he was consoled for the loss of his mother. That's the verse, right? That's the verse we're going to talk about. So it's interesting. Rashi is bothered by what does it mean that he brought her to her mother's? What does it mean he brought her to the tent of his mother? What is that? She didn't have her own tent. He couldn't afford to make her her own house. Why did he have to bring it to his mother's tent? What was the importance of that statement, and why doesn't he tell us that? Here Rashi brings a beautiful medrash. Rashi brings a beautiful medrash on that statement. And really, this is why he marries her. Not because of all the events that happened in the last 24 hours that are miraculous and unbelievable. Not she's a beautiful and a kind-hearted person, but this is what influences him to marry. It's the medrash. Kol yom mishay Sara kayemes. He brought her into the tent of Sarah's, his mother. The medrash says all the days of Sarah's life, a cloud hovered over the tent. When she passed away, the cloud disappeared. When Rivka entered, the cloud reappeared. All the days of Sarah, the dough was blessed. When she passed away, this blessing ceased. When Rebecca entered the tent, blessing returned. All the days of Sarah's life, a candle will burn from Friday night to Friday night. When she passed away, the flame stopped to burn. When Rebecca entered the tent, the miraculous flames returned. Related his mother's actions immediately brought her into the tent of Sarah. That's the meaning. He saw that she would continue to bring about these three mitzvahs to his existence.
What is it?
We'll get that in a minute. We'll get that. This is the whole sikha. This is the whole sikha of the Rebbe. In essence, the whole platform of the story of Eliezer and his whole miraculous event of this shidduch. I wouldn't use the word not important to him, to Isaac, well, but it didn't affect him in the way that these three things affected him. But when he saw, and that's what meant he was consoled. When he saw that he brought back, that she brought back, she accomplished these three things, he understood that she's the right person for him. She's the right person. Because these are the three things that are important to him in this relationship. These three things represent the three mitzvahs, the 613 mitzvahs. Many mitzvahs, men and women both are obligated in. There are three mitzvahs that are given over totally to women. They are the mitzvah of challah, which is a big challah baked tonight here. The mitzvah of challah, that a woman takes challah every time she makes dough. The mitzvah of family purity, which a woman goes to the mikveh, and the mitzvah of lighting fire candles, Shabbos candles. Those are the three mitzvahs that were given especially to Jewish women. And these three mitzvahs represent in these three things. Allah, open. The concept of the cloud is the purity in the home, godliness in the home, and lighting fire candles. The Rebbe is going to explain these three mitzvahs. That's what Rabbi Yehuda Lo, the Maral says, Menachem Prak says. Neged gimel mitzvahs. She saw that she's going to do these three mitzvahs. She's going to accomplish these three things like his mother accomplished in the world. Three miracles parallel to three commandments that are uniquely related to women. The prevalence of a blessing in the dough parallels the mitzvah to separate challah from the dough. I'll explain that in a minute. The candle burning from Friday to Friday parallels the mitzvah of lighting Shabbos candles, the mitzvah of a woman to light Shabbos candles. The cloud, now the truth is, you'll understand this because in Jewish law, if a man needs to do this also, let's say a man's making challah, he also has to take off challah. A man also, if there's not a woman in the house, she has to light the Shabbos candles. So the family purity is a separate issue. But those two mitzvahs, if there's no woman, a man should do it. If your wife goes away for Shabbos, and you're home alone for Shabbos, you need to light Shabbos candles. If your wife doesn't bake challah and you're the baker in the house, you need to take off challah. You can't eat the challah without taking off challah. But nevertheless, these mitzvahs were given to women. The mitzvah is more accomplished by a woman than by a man. It's just the man does it out of default. If the woman is not there, they do it out of default. The cloud hovering of the 10 parallels family purity, because cloud of glory is the glory of the blessed divine presence, and all that was in honor, sanctity, and purity inside us, and that was symbolic to this cloud, like the cloud of glory that was over the Mishkan, tabernacle in the desert, that the presence of God was there. So, in essence, all these three things bring about this concept. A woman is the Keres Habayis. The Jewish woman was given the obligation and the responsibility to bring godliness into the world. Truth is, we're all given that responsibility to bring godliness into the world. But women, being a Seder, a greater concept of understanding was given to women, that they have a greater capacity in these three things to bring about this concept, to bring about purity in the world, to bring about light in the world, and to bring about the concept of separating the challah, which we'll explain what that means. What's the practical meaning of separating, and what's the meaning of doing this? So, in Mitzvah Hashem, by the work of the Jewish women, that's why it's a responsibility on the Jewish women, and they should realize that responsibility, which is Mitzvah Hashem. They do most of these things are connected to Shabbos. Lighting Shabbos candles and challah is connected to Shabbos. We eat challah on Shabbos. Connected to Shabbos because Shabbos is the concept of Kodesh. Shabbos is the epitome of the aspect of holiness in the week. Just like you have the concept of physicality and spirituality with the concept of light and darkness. Shabbos is that aspect, the concept of light in the week. That even though the week is a troubling week and it's a hard week for men and women, ba Shabbos, ba Menucha. Shabbos is a time for Menucha, for the concept of spirituality. Shabbos Kodesh. Shabbos is the aspect of bringing holiness in the world. A woman does this thing in three ways, because ultimately we are hoping for a day that will be Kule Shabbos. We're hoping a day that will be totally the aspect of Shabbos, totally the aspect of it. When will that be? As the verse says, you have it in front of you in text number 3. It says, "And God, our teacher, will no longer be concealed from you, and your eyes will behold your teacher." In essence, that's an expression of Isaiah. Isaiah says there's going to come a day that what sin brought to the world, the first sin of Adam and Eve, what Adam and Eve brought to the world was darkness. That's what Adam and Eve brought to the world, darkness. Before Adam and Eve sinned, there was only light. There was only God in existence in the world. The light of God was in existence. The darkness, and that started off right away the obligation of man to reveal light in the world, to push away darkness, to the concept of revelation of godliness in the world, purity in the world, spirituality in the world, however you want to express it, feelings, etc. Those are the same concept. To understand something, Gemara says there's no greater joy in the world than the joy of going out of one's doubt, understanding something in the world. We are in dark because that's the concept of darkness. Darkness means I don't know where things are. I am at loss, right? So I'm walking like a blind person, God forbid. By him, it's totally dark. He's walking in the room, everything is there, but he cannot see it. The truth is, everything is here, but we cannot see it. God is not here, but we cannot see him. Godliness is not here. We're a bunch of blind people. We cannot see it. Either we're blind or we're in darkness that makes us blind, whatever the situation is. So therefore, the ultimate aspect is revelation of godliness that will open our eyes. The Rebbe used that expression. F in the Egan, open your eyes. Open your eyes, baby. If you open your eyes, you would see more. Obligation, in essence, of a woman was to open their eyes, to open our eyes, to be able to have a deeper understanding to be able to have a deeper feeling towards spirituality, towards the spiritual world. That's the concept of Shabbos. That's why it's called Shabbos Malchus. It's called the Shabbos Queen. Shabbos is the concept of spirituality, which is the concept of feminine side of things. One side of things is to conquer, to take over, to this thing is to stand, negotiate. Let's talk about it. Men don't want to talk about anything. Let's talk about it. Comprehend it. That's why we have the struggle, right? Men, they think they buy the flowers and that's it. Right?
It's a good start.
It's a good start, but it doesn't usually help. We need to talk about it. We need to understand it. I'm trying to comprehend you. Therefore, the Eibishter gave the women 3 mitzvahs. He gave them 3 mitzvahs. Our sages say, and this is really to these 3 mitzvahs came to the sin of Adam and Eve, the first sin which brought about darkness in the world. So the first sin that Moshe Alshich, who's a Kabbalist, writes, he says, wrote the Alshich, the book of Kabbalah, he says, our sages say, a mist arise from the earth and the waters and plants, as woman who kneads dough with water and then separates challah, so did God take a portion of the earth that is irrigated with water and separate it and form the body of Adam. The body of Adam. Clearly, the earth from which Adam was created is associated with the mitzvah of separating challah. It demonstrates the great value of humans over the earth and all its inhabitants. Separate yourself. Even though you're part of the earth, you come from the earth, like any animal comes from the earth, and everything comes from the earth. Hakol min ha'afar says everything comes from the earth, and everything shall return to the earth. You that even though you come from the earth, you need to separate yourself. You need to separate. You got to separate. You got to become holy. You got to separate yourself. Beautiful concept. You have to separate yourself. In the time of the Beis Hamikdash, you need to give it to the Kohen. I'm so. Therefore, to demonstrate that the great value of humans over the earth and all its inhabitants, like the great value the portion of challah has over the rest of the dough. The challah is holy and the rest of the dough is mundane. The challah allows you to eat the rest of the dough. The challah is given to the Kohen, he eats that. But the mundane is what you eat, correct? But when you have the capability to separate yourself, to realize you're holy, then you can partake in the rest of the world. If not, you're just like an animal, partake in it. Now you'll realize that when you separate yourself, you understand that you are a holy person, then you'll take the world in a holy way. If you think you're part of the world is mundane. I'm mundane. We're all mundane. We're all just a physical thing. We're all just like the rest of. We're like anything. We're like a plant. We're like a tree. We're like an animal. We're like anything else in creation. No. Comes Chala and says, separate yourself. Like just like God. That's what happened. Adam and Eve said they wanted to be part of the world. The Eibishter wanted Adam and Eve to be separate. Yitzir Kappa Shala Kadosh Baruch Hu. God created Adam from the earth, but He wanted Adam and Eve to be separate. They should look at the world. They should look at good and evil from an objective way. They shouldn't be subjected from good and evil. They should look at good and evil from above. What's the good and evil? Good and evil, which is symbolic to good and evil in the world. But they looked at it from above because they were holy. They were separate. But then they sinned, and they became part of the existence of good and evil. And when you become part of the existence of good and evil, then you can become evil in yourself. You can become mundane. You can become like an animal, chas v'shalom. So therefore, Chala tells us, separate ourselves. No, we're actually separating our body. We're actually separating not only our soul, we're separating our body. We're telling us, we're saying to ourselves that we are to realize that the Eibishter made us separate, even the body separate from the rest of the bodies of the world. Every human being is separate. You're not just like another body, like another animal. You are a different entity. You have a special purpose. You have a special purpose in this world. But look what he says further. Another parallel between Chala and humanity, as we may not benefit from the dough until you separate the Chala. So there's no benefit from the earth until Adam was created. There's no benefit. Mishta didn't create the world all for Adam and Eve. Created them. There's no benefit. There's no benefit in the world if not for what we do with the world. Beautiful, beautiful concept. He lived in the same time to be Yosef that in Sfas. Yeah, it is. Moshe Alshem. I haven't decided with it. It says there. He lived in the time of the Arizal. He's buried in Sfas. Oh, they took Chala. Okay. That's what he was looking for. He was looking not to just have bread, or I need to have a wife to have bread. I need a cook. He was a multi-billionaire. He could have had enough cooks. To have like his mother, who would continue this concept in the world that we need to act like a different. We need to be a family that realize is that we are humans, and we are humans, and we are special. We have a purpose. That's symbolic, and what the women are going to do tonight in this Chabad house, they're going to do the mitzvah of power. The way you need to establish, that's the way women need to establish their homes, my friends. Number 2, the mitzvah of purity. The Gemara explains the mitzvah of purity. Look at the Gemara in text number 5a. It's the Gemara in Avodah Zarah. Beautiful Gemara. The Gemara said, Pinchas, the son of Yair, Pinchas ben Yair, also buried in Sfas. He says, abstination leads to purity. Purity leads to piety. Piety leads to humility. Humility leads to fear of sin. Fear of sin leads to sanctity. Sanctity leads to nation. That's the whole concept of purity, abstination. A woman goes through a cycle in her life, and we abstain. We realize that the relationship is not only a physical relationship, the relationship is based on a spiritual concept, and it needs to be purity in the world. I say this because we know that this mitzvah of going to the mikveh, whether you went to the mikveh in the time of where women have the capability of going to the mikveh, whether because they have a cycle, or whether women don't, they finish the cycle, they're in menopause, they should still, if they had never went to the mikveh, they should go to the mikveh. The mikveh brings them purity not only in the present, it brings them purity retroactively. but they bring purity in their lives, and they should do that. They should go to the mitzvah. They should go to the mikveh. The Rebbe writes in text 5b, this mitzvah, being a sacred foundation of family life, is also impacts the health of the body and the soul, and to the purity of Jewish children. In addition, this mitzvah creates a lasting impact for all generations of eternal Jewish continuity. As a result of this mitzvah, children are born, grow up in purity, and build their own home, Jewish homes for generations. And that's why in Jewish law, have enough money to build a shul or build a mikveh, you build a mikveh. Because we can daven in our home, but we cannot live in a community, can't live in a city without a mikveh. We cannot do the mitzvah of family purity. This about lighting, then we go to the next mitzvah, the mitzvah which we want to talk about, the lighting Shabbos candles. Third mitzvah. The Rebbe writes, all about lighting Shabbos candles merit children who are scholars. As the verse states, for the mitzvah is a candle and the light is Torah. Kiner mitzvah v'Torah. The mitzvah is a candle and the oil is Torah. Through the mitzvah candles comes the light of Torah. The truth is, that's a pasuk in Mishlei, means all mitzvahs are a candle. But the Alter Rebbe says, even though all mitzvahs are a candle, here we have a physical mitzvah, that not only as a metaphor to a candle, but actually a woman lights the Shabbos candles, hopefully on Friday night. Every woman should light the Shabbos candles on Friday night. They actually do this mitzvah in a physical way. And first of all, you should realize that Sara did this mitzvah of lighting Shabbos Friday night candles. The miracle was that her candles lasted for 7 days. It burned from Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos, but she lit the Friday night candles. Light Friday night candles at what age? 3 years old. Light the Friday night candles at 3 years old. The Rebbe wanted the 3-year-old girls that should light Shabbos Friday night candles, even before the bar mitzvahs. Bas mitzvah, they should light Friday night candles. Who lived at 3 years old. The Rebbe writes in 6b, the light of other mitzvahs is spiritual. That you call the light, that a mitzvah is a light, that's a spiritual concept. Because tefillin, I don't see no light when I put on tefillin in the morning. But tefillin is also a light, spiritual light. Or the impact on the physical world is indiscernible. I don't see the light. So the mitzvah that performs the physical light, when a woman lights the Shabbos candles, she's actually accomplishing physical light in her home. Not only spiritual light, physical light. The spiritual light is manifest openly in the physical world. And that's the greatness of this mitzvah. Every other mitzvah which I consider the light of God, I don't see the light. See the light. But when I come into my home and I see the beautiful candles, Shabbos, physical, beautiful candles of lights. What is it? Shabbos candles. It's a spiritual, it's a physical thing, but it's a spiritual thing, right? Candles being shalom in the home. In a practical way, and years ago, there was no lights, right? So the candles brought light into the house. But they needed light every night. But today we, Baruch Hashem, have lights. What do you need to have light a candle for? If there's lights, Baruch Hashem, I mean, without the candles, there's not going to be peace in the house. There's lights, and if no lights in the house, there's no lights in the house, there won't be peace in the house, maybe. They'll be bumping into each other. But Baruch Hashem, we all have lights in our house. The Rebbe says self-understood. The beauty is when you have Shabbos candles, not only the physical light, but the spiritual light that brings into your house. And he based it on the following statement. The expression in Jeremiah, it says, Oimim la'etz avi ata. Problem is that Jeremiah says that will ultimately say that wood, you're my father, ula'evim ati ditanu, and to the stone they will say, you bore us. And the Alter Rebbe writes in section 7b, idolatry. But why specifically did Jeremiah pick the expression of wood and stone? That's what the Alter Rebbe is bothered. Our sage instructor, we place a burning candle on Shabbos in every room that we enter to ensure peace in the house, so they won't stumble on wood and stone. That was the practical. That was the practical implication of why you should light Shabbos candles. Imagine if a guy walks into his room and he falls over to his and he's going to start a fight with his wife. Why'd you leave the food on the floor? Why'd you leave the thing on the floor? Why'd you let the kids, right? We need to bring peace in the house. Have candles. Not only in the living room, have candles in every room, because you need to see where you're going. Rebbe asked the question in 7c, why wood and stone in particular? Reference to the verse, those who say to wood, you are my father, and to stone, you bore us. It is possible to turn the wood and stone into idols. Shabbos candles keep us from the stumble into wood and stone. Wood and stone are without the light of candles can metaphorically occasionally cause us to stumble and to think that they're independent power to satisfy us, to the extent that we might have an idolatrous notion to call wood our father and stone who bore us. Light of the holy Shabbos, a light of a mitzvah, has direct bearing on the physical world. It ensures us that we don't stumble on wood or stone. It shows us that wood and stone, like everything else in the world, is under the domain of God. It's all a creation. God benefits us through them, but they have no autonomous power, and they must be used for holy purposes. Correct, it was sarcastic. Yes, it was a rebuke. He says you're going to get stuck with the physical world. You're going to get stuck with the physical world. You're going to stumble on all these physical things that you're going to walk in the world. Bring a light of a mitzvah in your life. Bring some lights of spirituality in your life, and you'll realize that what the wood and stone are there for, what these physical things are there for. They'll only be there for you to use, but they're not there to be exemplified, to be created as something that is special. Statement of Shelley Wills. I really don't know who she is, and trust me, that ever didn't bring this down in a sikha. But this is the JLI put in. Do you understand the implication of candles that we light each Friday night? Why was this lofty role placed in your care? Possess the special light that can light your home. In you is a treasure of love, self-sacrifice, loyalty, and dedication to you. It permeates the soul of your children that goes into the hidden corners of their house. So with this powerful light, you do the job of your children. And when you care for your children, when you put them to bed, you permeate their souls with the spirit of Yiddishkeit. You plant in their hearts the most noble character traits, so that when they grow up, they will be job, not only to light, those to protect, all that threatens to darken it. You need your shop, wage the war, the battle, as you establish a pillar of light around your home. Hold your children in your arms, so they'll always be part of the Jewish people. Do the Shabbos candles. Jewish home is transformed into a fortress. Only such a fortress today, tomorrow, Let's go back to the Rebbe. We'll end this off. Provides with a clear directive. All Jewish girls must light Shabbos candles, not only after their bat mitzvah, even before their weddings, but also when they're young, being at the age of. And understand this meaning of Shabbos candles, you must train to fulfill the mitzvah of lighting this whole revolution. Says in text number 10, in the era before the coming of you read this Talmud, you would think the Talmud was written yesterday. Ready? Listen to the words of the Talmud that was written 2,000 years ago, and you tell me that this Talmud was like not written yesterday. In the era before the coming of Mashiach, impudence will increase and inflation will spike. Number 10. The government will turn into hearsay. Heresy. No one will dare to reprimand them. Public meeting places become arenas of promiscuity. Those who fear sin will be held in disgust. The truth will be absent. The youth will be shamed. The elders will ride in indifference into minors. And against whom we can learn. Who's going to help us? The only one who can help us is God. The only one we can lean on is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I ask you, this is a famous Gemara. You learn this Gemara, you say, wow, what is this prophetic? Is this not prophetic? Is this not prophetic? And that's why the Rebbe said, yes, what do you think inflation started yesterday? All the above makes, the Rebbe says, if you understand that Gemara, you understand why we need more light today. Why we need more this mitzvah today more than any time before. These three mitzvahs, the mitzvah of purity, the mitzvah of challah, understanding what your obligation, and that you're separate, you're not part of the mundaneness, what's going on in the world. The world is self-understood so important today. All the buzz make clear that the modern day, when the world is caught in a thick and intense spiritual darkness, it's especially important that every Jewish daughter light the Shabbat. It should begin as soon as they reach the age of education, when they can teach them the meaning of Shabbos and Yom Tov candles. As long as they understand how to make a bracha, and they should make a blessing, they should do it. Bring light into this world. The light of Shabbos candles, along with the blessings each girl will recite, will illuminate her entire life. She will know and remember that God, she recites her blessing, is the king of the world, even the Meshuggah world that she's living in. This will ensure that when she marries, God will be her guiding light. Of her home, she will build and establish her home in accordance with God's will and the foundations of Torah and mitzvahs. Here we see, text number 11c, here we see the power vested in the mitzvah of candle lighting, even by a 3-year-old Jewish girl. Every Jewish daughter is a daughter of the matriarchs Sara, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. As such, her candle also illuminates the house the entire week until next Friday. The only difference between her and the matriarchs is that their light was openly visible in the physical home. The physical candles burn miraculously from Friday to Friday. The reality is that every Jewish woman kindles a spiritual light, Shabbos candles. Though our physical eyes cannot behold this light, our actions blaze a path for us, the descendants, and empower us to illuminate the entire week with our Shabbos candles. Even though your candles are not going to last, unless you can get a 7-day candle, your candles are not going to last 7 days. They will spiritually last for 7 days. Lori Palatnik, I don't know who this is, wrote, as a light, I asked myself, am I a light? Am I lighting up my husband, helping him use the talents of his greatness? Am I lighting up each of my children? Am I there for them in the way that they individually and critically need me in their lives today? Am I a light to those who join my family? Am I welcoming them with open arms? Am I a light to my community? Standing up and taking responsibility when need? Am I a light to the Jewish people? Using the gifts that God has given me to lead? Am I a light to Hashem? Am I Kiddush Hashem? Do I sanctify His name? All I do. Am I extending the mission which with all charged with at Mount Sinai to be a light unto the nations? And all, how can I increase the light? Beautiful, beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. We'll end off with a beautiful medrash. Medrash says, if you observe candle Shabbos, the medrash says, if you observe candles on Shabbos, I will show you the candles of Sara. This is actually, that's not a medrash, that's a verse in Sefania. In Shamarta Ner Shel Shabbos, Amarachem Ner Shel Tziyun. Why? I'm sorry, the verse is the next verse. And I will come to pass on that day, I will search Jerusalem with candles. The Medrash says, if you observe the candles of Shabbos, I will show you the candles of them. I want to require of you to see the light of the sun, for you will see the light of my glory. As it says written, you shall no longer have the sun for light by day and for brightness, and the moon shall give you light, but God shall be to you an everlasting light. Nations will walk to your light. And it's written, nation will walk to your light, of Isaiah. And all this, why? Why will all this, why? In the merit of the candles that you will light in honor of Shabbos. So Jewish women, get to work. Make sure you do these 3 mitzvahs and elevate the men that all are hoping that you do for them, and bring ultimately the ultimate light to the world. I wish you all a wonderful, beautiful. What a beautiful